In a world where we're often in a rush and overlook the struggles of others, one encounter can change everything. Today, we bring you a story where cruelty and indifference collide with true humanity. A waiter in a restaurant treats a young man in a wheelchair with harshness, leaving him in despair and humiliation. But what happens when, at that very moment, one person enters the restaurant? His actions shock everyone present, and his words become a lesson that no one will ever forget. A secret that stuns everyone, and a moment that will change the way you perceive what it truly means to be human. The restaurant buzzes with the usual noise of a busy evening. Waiters swiftly move between tables, serving customers, while conversations about business and casual matters fill the air. In the far corner of the room, a young man sits in a wheelchair at a small table. His face reflects a mixture of exhaustion and quiet determination. He tries to focus on the menu in front of him, his hands trembling slightly as he struggles to make a decision. Despite the physical challenge, he remains patient, unwilling to rush his choices. As he slowly scans the menu, a waiter notices him from across the room. His face tightens with visible displeasure as his gaze lingers on the young man. He shakes his head imperceptibly, clearly irritated by the sight of the wheelchair-bound customer. With a sigh, the waiter walks toward the table, his steps purposeful, yet laced with disdain. The young man doesn't notice at first, still absorbed in his task. But as the waiter approaches, his sense of unease becomes palpable. The waiter arrives at the table and immediately begins speaking in a dismissive tone. His words are coated with subtle mockery as he comments on the young man's slow pace in choosing his meal. The waiter speaks down to him, making snide remarks about the man's difficulty in performing simple actions, like picking a dish or pouring his own water. The young man tries to respond, but his voice falters, unsure of how to react to the harsh treatment. He attempts to explain himself, to offer a reason, but the waiter cuts him off, uninterested in any explanation. The surrounding customers continue to eat, their conversations humming along, oblivious or unwilling to intervene. Some glance over, exchanging uncomfortable looks, but none move to stand up for the young man. The tension in the air is thick, yet remains unspoken. Every harsh word from the waiter seems to pierce the young man's composure, and though his body is still, the weight of the moment presses down on him. His hands clutch the menu with a tightening grip, and his face flushes with the sting of humiliation. But he remains silent, holding back the hurt, trying not to reveal his vulnerability. The waiter stands there for a moment longer, his posture stiff with arrogance. The young man's gaze stays on the menu, avoiding eye contact, hoping the situation will end soon. But the feeling of being judged, being treated as less than human, lingers in the air. The noise of the restaurant fades into the background as the young man fights to keep his emotions in check. Despite his struggle, he refuses to react, unwilling to give the waiter the satisfaction of seeing his discomfort. He focuses on the small act of choosing a meal, trying to assert some control in a moment where so much has been taken from him. The waiter eventually turns, clearly satisfied with his display of authority, and moves off to attend to other tasks. The young man, still in his wheelchair, looks up slowly, scanning the room, but the sting of the interaction remains. The hurt doesn't fade immediately, and he sits there for a while, quietly processing what just happened. Though the restaurant continues to hum with life, the young man feels the weight of isolation, as if the world around him doesn't quite match his internal reality. It's a brief, sharp moment, but its impact will last far longer than the meal itself. Several minutes pass, and the waiter, clearly still enjoying the sense of superiority, walks away, leaving the young man in the wheelchair in a state of quiet distress. The young man sits there, his shoulders slightly hunched, his face still carrying the weight of the earlier humiliation. He tries to maintain composure, but the emotional toll is evident. The noise of the restaurant continues around him, the clinking of silverware and a murmur of conversations, but none of it feels real to him. The world seems distant and cold as he processes the sting of the interaction. He glances around the restaurant, his gaze drifting over the busy scene, but nothing captures his attention until his eyes stop on the door. He blinks, uncertain at first, unsure if he's seeing things. But there, in the doorway, stands a figure he never expected to see. It's a man he knows well, a man who has always had a reassuring presence, Keanu, his old friend, who appears as a calm, confident figure in the crowd. The moment he steps into the room, there's a noticeable shift in the air. His posture is relaxed yet confident, and his face holds an expression of quiet authority, a stark contrast to the tension surrounding the young man in the wheelchair. Keenly aware of the situation, Keanu takes a moment to survey the room. His eyes land on the young man in the wheelchair, and immediately, a smile spreads across his face. It's a familiar, warm smile that seems to light up the room. The young man, still overwhelmed by the earlier encounter, feels a sense of relief wash over him just from seeing this familiar face. Keanu's presence is like a beacon in the otherwise cold and indifferent restaurant. However, as Keanu's gaze moves across the space, his expression shifts. His smile fades as he notices something else: the interaction between the young man and the waiter. It's clear to Keanu that something inappropriate and disrespectful has taken place. He doesn't need any more details. His eyes narrow with a sudden seriousness as he approaches the situation. Without any hesitation, he begins to walk towards the young man's table. Keanu's every step is filled with confidence, and his presence commands attention. The restaurant, still buzzing with activity, seems to momentarily quiet down as the patrons notice him. People exchange surprised glances, unsure of what's happening, but Keanu is focused. He doesn't rush or make any dramatic gestures. His movements are steady and measured, displaying the calm strength he's known for. As he reaches the table where the young man is sitting, he stops, not at all fazed by the shocked looks he's receiving from other diners. He stands there for a moment, offering the young man a look of quiet understanding. No words are exchanged, but in that brief second, something shifts. The young man looks up, feeling the weight of the earlier humiliation begin to lift. Keanu doesn't need to say anything, but his presence speaks volumes. He stands beside the young man as if nothing had happened, offering him silent support. The atmosphere in the restaurant changes from tense to hopeful, and the young man, for the first time in what feels like forever, breathes a sigh of relief. Keanu's expression hardens slightly as he takes in the scene, his gaze now fixed on the waiter who has wandered off to attend another table. It's clear that Keanu sees beyond the surface. What's happened isn't just a minor interaction. It's something deeper, a moment of injustice that needs to be addressed. Keanu's posture straightens, and his eyes narrow with determination. It's not just about offering support to his friend. It's about ensuring that respect and kindness are shown to everyone, regardless of their circumstances. The young man can feel the strength of Keanu's resolve without him saying a word. The stage is set for something much bigger than a simple encounter at a restaurant. The tension is palpable in the air as Keanu stands tall, silently acknowledging the injustice that took place. The young man, still in his wheelchair, feels empowered simply by the presence of his old friend. In this moment, he's no longer isolated in his struggle. Keanu's quiet intervention becomes a turning point, and as the young man watches his friend approach the waiter, he feels a sense of hope he hadn't felt before. Everything changes in that instant. A few seconds pass, and Keanu stands up. His movements are calm yet firm, and as he begins walking toward the waiter, all eyes in the restaurant turn to him. His presence commands attention, and the room seems to shift in energy. The waiter, still going about his duties, doesn't initially notice Keanu's approach. But as he looks up, he sees the unmistakable figure heading toward him, and his face changes instantly. The confident steps of Keanu grow louder in the quiet tension of the room. The waiter stiffens, a sudden unease creeping into his body language. The light chatter of the restaurant grows softer, and the atmosphere becomes heavier, laden with anticipation. Keanu approaches the waiter with deliberate slowness, his face calm but serious. There is no rush in his steps, no anger in his demeanor, but a quiet authority surrounds him. The waiter stands still for a moment, uncertain of what is happening. His previous arrogance now falters as he begins to understand that the situation has shifted. His discomfort grows as Keanu closes the distance between them. Keanu stands tall, facing him with quiet determination, and though he doesn't raise his voice, his presence alone is enough to make the room hold its breath. Without a word, Keanu looks the waiter directly in the eyes. There is no yelling, no grand gestures, just a deep, unwavering intensity that cuts through the air. His gaze holds steady as he communicates the seriousness of the moment. The waiter, now aware of the weight of the situation, begins to fidget nervously. His earlier smugness crumbles as he recognizes the quiet power in Keanu's words. Keanu doesn't need to shout to make his point clear. His words are deliberate, and with each sentence, the tension in the room grows. The words Keanu speaks are sharp but measured, and they pierce the silence of the restaurant. As he speaks, the weight of his message becomes apparent to everyone present. He doesn't just scold the waiter for his actions. He forces him to confront the deeper implications of his behavior. Keanu speaks of respect, of humanity, and of the importance of seeing every person as an individual, deserving of kindness regardless of their physical abilities. He reminds the waiter and everyone in the room of the values that should govern human interaction. His voice remains steady, but the power of his words resonates deeply within everyone present. As Keanu continues, the restaurant becomes still. The air thickens with the realization that what was once a moment of casual disregard is now an undeniable lesson. Patrons who had earlier looked away now watch, their expressions changing from indifference to introspection. Some exchange glances, others shift uncomfortably in their seats. The waiter's face grows pale, and his eyes dart around the room, unable to escape the realization of his mistake. His initial confidence fades into shame, and he stands frozen, unable to speak. The scene shifts, and Keanu's words echo in the minds of those around him. The quiet tension of the room is palpable as patrons begin to reflect on their own actions, their own silence. Some feel a pang of guilt for not intervening earlier. Others feel the weight of their complicity in allowing the situation to unfold without stepping in. The moment has become more than just a confrontation. It has turned into a reminder of the human dignity we owe one another. As Keanu finishes, he gives the waiter a final, unwavering look. The man stands there, silent, his face flushed with the weight of the public reprimand. There is no anger in Keanu's expression, just a quiet resolution. His gaze softens slightly, but it's clear that the message has been delivered. He doesn't need to say anything more. The air feels heavier now, as the waiter understands the consequences of his actions. Keanu's quiet intervention has done more than just expose the waiter's mistake. It has shown everyone in the room the power of kindness, respect, and standing up for what is right. The restaurant feels different in the aftermath. The buzz of conversation starts to pick up again, but the tone has changed. People are more aware, more thoughtful. They understand now that every action, no matter how small, matters. The waiter slowly turns away, his head hanging low, his shoulders slumped in shame. He walks back to the kitchen, unable to meet the eyes of anyone around him. Meanwhile, the patrons sit in silence for a moment, processing the lesson they've just witnessed. Keanu stands for a moment, watching the waiter leave. Then he walks back to the young man in the wheelchair, who watches him with quiet gratitude. There is no need for words. The unspoken connection between them is enough. The atmosphere in the restaurant has changed, and it's clear that the moment of confrontation was more than just about the waiter. It was about something deeper, a reminder that humanity requires respect for all people, regardless of their circumstances. The tension dissipates, and the room slowly returns to its rhythm. But the lesson of the moment lingers. Everyone in the restaurant will remember this moment, not because of the conflict, but because of the power of standing up for what is right, no matter the cost. After Keanu made his point, he returns to the table with the young man in the wheelchair. The waiter, now pale and without any excuse, retreats quietly, his mind filled with the realization that his actions were completely unacceptable. As he walks away, the young man in the wheelchair finally exhales, feeling the weight of the situation begin to lift from his shoulders. His posture straightens, and a sense of relief spreads across his face. The tension in his body fades, replaced by a quiet comfort he hadn't felt in the restaurant before. Keanu sits down beside him, offering silent companionship. Despite the absence of words, there's a shift in the atmosphere around them. The air feels different, lighter somehow. People in the restaurant begin to whisper among themselves, sharing quiet exchanges of understanding. Some glance at Keanu and the young man, now fully aware of the importance of what just happened. It's as if the whole room has collectively recognized how vital respect and decency are in human interaction. The small yet powerful gesture of standing up for someone who is mistreated resonates throughout the room, a shared lesson in dignity. The young man looks at Keanu, his eyes filled with gratitude. He offers a soft smile, a rare moment of peace amidst the tension that had enveloped him earlier. Keanu, understanding the significance of the moment, smiles back. This time, his smile is different, gentler, warmer. There's a mutual acknowledgement in the exchange, a shared understanding that, despite the conflict, kindness has prevailed. The moment is subtle, but powerful. The people around them continue with their meals, but now there's a quiet respect in the room, a lingering awareness of the lesson that was just imparted. No one speaks directly of the incident, but the change in the atmosphere is palpable. The lesson of respect, of standing up for what is right, has been made clear not just to the waiter, but to everyone present. As the young man sits there, he feels more at ease. His mind isn't consumed by the earlier humiliation anymore. There's a sense of validation that Keanu's actions have given him. It's not about the apology or the confrontation, but about the simple act of someone recognizing his worth. The relief is evident in his body language as he begins to relax into the moment, the earlier tension now replaced by a peaceful acceptance. Keanu's calm and quiet authority has changed the dynamics of the restaurant. It's no longer just a place of meal service, but a space where dignity has been restored. Patrons in the room, who had been passive observers, now look at the situation with a new perspective. The knowledge that one person's actions can change the tone of an entire room is a powerful reminder for them, one that will stay with them long after the evening ends. As the meal continues, the young man feels a sense of camaraderie with Keanu, a bond strengthened by more than just their past friendship. The experience of standing up for one another in a moment of injustice has created a deeper connection between them. The waiter, meanwhile, retreats further into the background, his earlier arrogance dissolved, and the sense of shame he feels now is unmistakable. The incident, although over, will linger in his mind as a stark reminder of the responsibility each person has to treat others with dignity. The evening continues on, but the moment of truth has already passed. It's not the loudest or most dramatic moment that stands out, but the quiet, steadfast defense of what's right. As Keanu and the young man share a few words, their connection remains unspoken yet profound. The restaurant, now quieter and more respectful, will remember the lesson long after they leave. The waiter, having been given the chance to reflect on his actions, will likely change the way he treats others moving forward. The atmosphere in the room gradually returns to normal, but the weight of what happened lingers in the hearts of those who witnessed it. For the young man in the wheelchair, the rest of the evening will feel different. The moment of kindness, of dignity restored, will stay with him far beyond the walls of the restaurant. It's a reminder that sometimes the most profound moments of our lives come not in grand gestures, but in the simple acts of respect and kindness that we offer each other in the smallest of spaces.